Okay, hi. So I'm going to give my speech on why the angry Black girl stereotype should not exist. Okay. So everyone else can be upset and express their feelings, but when it is a Black woman expressing her feelings, we are too angry and aggressive. To start off, I'm going to tell you all how this stereotype was manifested, how it negatively affects Black women, and I'm also going to discuss my personal opinion about this stereotype and why I am interested in this topic. And at the end, I will discuss how you all can stop this stereotype from existing. Let me take you back to when the stereotypical personas such as Sapphire and Mammy were first presented on TV. According to an article, the Sapphire caricature that was published August 2008 by Dr. David Pilgrim, professor of sociology, in the 1800s to the mid-1900s, Black women were portrayed as sassy mammies who were short-tempered Black women who ran their homes by iron fists and would berate their husbands and Black children in TV shows. During the Jim Crow period, when Black men were jailed, beaten, or killed, or arguing with white men, the fictional Black mammies would pretend chastise whites, including men. Funnily enough, though, this sassiness was only allowed during this period to try to imply that segregation and slavery weren't overly oppressive, even though they were. According to the same article, it was not until 1951 when the Amos and Andy show appeared that the stereotype of African American women as domineering, aggressive, emasculating shrews became widely associated with the name Sapphire. Although the show aired on the radio from 1928 to 1960, the show aired on television from 1951 to 53 and had reruns from 1954 all the way to 1966. This is to show you all the period of how the stereotype of the angry Black woman was able to manifest through the caricatures Sapphire and Mammies and become widely known by Americans. As a result, people in the US learned that Black women were comical not as actors, but as a race. Due to this manifestation of the stereotype, Black women cannot live comfortably. Black women are not viewed as equal, and their everyday life is affected negatively, which takes a toll to their mental health state. This stereotype should not exist because due to it and the persona of the angry Black woman that Americans always associate us with, Black women suffer horribly as they reside in America. According to article To Be Female, Anxious, and Black that was published on April 2018 by Dr. Angela Neal Barnett, who works for the ADAA, Anxiety and Depression Association of America, data shows that for Black women, anxiety is more chronic and symptoms are more intense than white counterparts. Neal Barnett also states that because of Americans viewing Black women as sassy mammies and sapphires, that they have to work twice as hard just to go half as far in the workplace, college, and professional school settings. This belief and reality demonstrate that Black women experience more anxiety and mood disorders from social pressures. According to the article, The Mental Health of U.S. Black Women, the Role of Social Context in Severe Intimate Partner Violence, that was published October 19, 2015, there is a section that is about perceived discrimination that includes a statistical study of Black women having high rates of any anxiety disorder by 23.7%, a mood disorder by 16.7%, and a high rate of suicide cases by 12.7%. This stereotype has to cease to exist because it affects Black women's chances when it comes to getting into the workforce and trying to make a living for themselves as well. I feel that people should care about this problem because Black women should not be unreasonably discriminated against. It is wrong, and even when Black women try to break out of this stereotype, it does not truly work because we are still held to the prejudice due to how deeply rooted this belief is in America. This stereotype affects Black women's chances of getting jobs, especially with higher positions, and it just makes life for us harder. According to the article How the Sound of Your Voice Affects Your Career, especially as a Black woman, that was published December 30th, 2016, a study was done by a professor at Northwestern University to show that despite Black women being able to take leadership roles in the workplace, that they are still associated with being aggressive, angry Black women and are the last candidates to be chosen for higher job positions. In a study done where a script was read by 4 different anonymous voices, There was a white male voice, a black male voice, a white female voice, and a black female voice. Out of the 75 diverse students who had to choose, they had to choose who was the most likely candidate to receive the higher position and who was the least likely to receive the position. With the white male voice being the most likely candidate and the black female voice being the least likely candidate, a student commented and stated how the black female voice was abrasive, rude, how she was not having an efficient way of explaining her script, and how she demanded things and threatened the customer from reading the script. But all the voices that read this script read the exact same script and word for word at that. This study was done to show that Black women are not even given a chance in the workplace because of this stereotype. Black women deserve the same opportunities as everyone else in America, and because of this ugly persona about Black women, we are being hindered, and it is discriminatory and wrong. Concluding my reasonings as to why the angry Black woman stereotype should not exist, I will now tell you what will happen if people do or do not stop holding back Black women to this stereotype. If change does not happen and this stereotype does not stop being applied to Black women by Americans, then America will have failed Black women in every way. Black women will forever be silenced and afraid to speak up due to a sentence of degradation that was enforced by white Americans in the 1800s. Black women's First Amendment and other constitutional rights will be forever lost because of a country where everyone should be equal. If change does happen, then Black women will be able to truly live in a place where everyone is created and viewed as equal. Black women will be able to live their lives without the distress of always being looked down upon and experience the effects from it. But with change, there are actions that are meant to be taken. To try and stop the stereotype from existing, you can educate yourself. There are books and articles you can read that detail the Black woman's experience and will give outsiders a deeper understanding of what Black women go through on a daily basis. Another thing people can do is to always check themselves because unconscious biases can further perpetuate the angry Black woman stereotype. For example, if a person is at work, they could enforce diversity and inclusion training for people who have unchecked beliefs and negative views of people. According to Article 12, Companies Ramping Up Diversity and Inclusion Efforts and How You Can Too by Dominique Fluker that was published on August 26, 2020, companies like Salesforce, Slack, and Banner Health have enforced diversity and inclusion trainings. Overall, the angry Black woman stereotype should not exist because of the negative connotations and effects that come from it. This stereotype that was manifested in 1800s must come to an end because it affects Black women negatively both physically and mentally, and they do not deserve to have this stereotype looming over their heads. To help bring an end to this stereotype, people can better educate themselves and check others to stop viewing Black women with unconscious biases, because once again, other people can express their feelings, but when a Black woman does it, all of a sudden we are too angry and aggressive. Make it make sense. Thank you for listening to my speech.